Acharya mam vijaniya navamanyeta karhichit namarcha buddhya suyeta sarvadeva mayo guru. हे अकारण करुणा पतित पावन श्री कृष्ण, तुमसे विमुख होने के कारण अनादिकाल से हमने अनंत अनंत दुख पाए एवं पा रहे हैं। पाप करते करते अंतःकरण इतना मलिन हो चुका है कि रसिकों द्वारा यह जान भी हमारे बुझाव के पसारे अपनी वात्सल्यमयी दृष्टि से हमारी प्रतीक्षा कर रहे हो। तुम्हारे चरण मैं नहीं आ पाता। O my divine beloved, causelessly merciful Sri Krishna, having ignored you since time immemorial, I have been suffering due to committing sins life after life. My mind have become so polluted, even though your saints are telling me you're waiting for me with arms outstretched to embrace me, with a divine life to grace me, still I fail to surrender to you completely. All glories to Sri Radhesham, all glories to Sri Krishna, the divine teacher, all glories to Sri Maharaji, all glories to all saints and sages, all glories to devas, all glories to all aspiring souls. Thank you for joining me. अनादिकाल से हमने अनंत अनंत दुख पाए एवं पा रहे हैं. For countless lives I have been suffering, paap karte karte. Why? Because of evil desires, which brings about evil deeds. The subject of the cause of suffering should be obvious to everyone. What a man has done, so shall it be done unto him. As a man sows, so shall he reap. Karma. Jaise karni, vaise bharani. As a man sows, so shall he reap. This is not only found in all the scriptures. This is a scientific law, an unbreakable law. Every cause has its equal and opposite effect. This is science. So, my dear aspiring souls, our business therefore is to purify our mind. You see, the mind is described as E manushanam karanam bandha moksheho. Hey mankind, know that it is your mind that is the cause of sin, bondage, and it's the mind, when purified, will be the cause of your freedom of bondage, salvation, liberation from short-lived bodies. God has two things we want: the blessing of freeing us from suffering forever, and the blessing of perfect happiness, which can only be enjoyed in a body that is transcendental to birth, disease, old age, and death. As long as we are living in bodies that are short-lived and are born, we go through old age, diseases, and death. This spells suffering merely because of living in a body. So, only God can give us freedom. However, the grace of God is received incrementally as we purify our heart, as we purify our life, as we purify our minds. We begin to experience God more and more. When the mind is completely pure, we will experience the full grace of God. At that time, God will do His work of freeing us. But He cannot give His full grace to us unless we first become completely surrendered to a God-realized soul and follow His instructions of how we can purify our mind. When our mind is purified, then God and that divine personality called a true guru will give us freedom from material existence and a body just like God's body. So my dear aspiring souls, God's business is always to give grace, and He's watching all the time. He's watching all the time from within the heart of everyone, waiting, hoping for us that we will turn to Him fully and we will practice purification of our mind, which will then allow Him to give us His full grace. God helplessly can only be graceful, but one thing that stops Him from being graceful is our free will. He cannot interfere with our free will. So only as much as we turn to Him, only as much as we purify our mind, only so much He can do. When our mind becomes completely purified, then He will do what He has to do, which is to give us His complete grace. In the Quran, in Surah 49, verse 13, it is said that Allah is saying that I have made you from a single pair of male and female into many tribes and nations, and with the hope that you should get to know each other and not despise each other. And let it be known to you that the most honored in my sight is he who is most righteous. So we can see clearly from this that Allah wants us to become pure of heart, righteous. In the Bible, Jesus says something similar. In Matthew 5, in the Beatitudes, He says, the pure of heart shall see God. God is there to be seen, but only the pure of heart can see God. God is right in our heart. And when we are pure of heart, He will step out of your heart and appear to you in the form that you desire Him to be in. He can accommodate anyone's desire. In the Vedas, Sri Tulsidas describes that Hari Chahe Shuddhamanna Govinda Radhe. The Lord will reveal Himself to the one whose mind becomes pure. So all of these scriptures are advocating, are telling us that our business is to purify our mind. If we want freedom from suffering, and if we want to enjoy the happiness that is God. God is not only able to give us happiness, He is the source of happiness. He is happiness. Anando Brahmeti, the scriptures describe God as. He is the personification of happiness. The Bible also says, in the presence of God there is the fullness of joy. God is joy. So, freedom from suffering and the attainment of perfect happiness can only be attained from loving God. Lord Buddha, who lived 2,560 years ago, was born in North India, in Uttar Pradesh province, in a city called Gaya. Lord Buddha, I was there in that city. It's not mythology. He was born as a prince from a very prosperous, rich kingdom. And at his name-giving ceremony, the saint who gave him the title of Gautam Siddhartha, that was his name, Siddhartha, said to his father that this boy has all the signs of being an avatar, a divine messenger. And he will lead a life not desiring material possessions, not desiring material enjoyment, not desiring worldly living as common people do. When the father heard this, he immediately started making preparations that this is my son. I want him to be the heir of my kingdom. I don't want him to live like a mendicant walking around with a beggar's bowl like these sadhus do. I want him to rule my kingdom. So what the father did, immediately he started construction of 4 palaces. One for the summer, one for the fall, one for the winter, and one for the spring. Beautiful palaces. And by the time Siddhartha grew up as a teenager, his father furnished them with the most beautiful women from all over the world and ensured that he was enjoying the best of musical arrangements from the best musicians, that he would be only in the presence of youthful, beautiful people, that he would only enjoy the best of wines and drugs that there is in the world, that he would only enjoy the best delicacies that there is in the world, that there would be no shortage of the best things to see, hear, taste, touch. So his father kept him engrossed in the pleasures of the senses. But as you know, every man gets disgusted and curious. And after he got married, he had a son whose name was Rahul. He started to get curious about what's going on in the outer world beyond the gates of the palatial compound. And he asked one of his servants, I want to take a visit in what's going on in my kingdom, in the outer world, in the city and in the villages. And so, dressing as a commoner, with ordinary clothing given to him by his servant, they went out into the villages and into the town and the walkways and byways. He first observed that there was a very old man leaning on a stick and walking very slowly, as very old people do. And he was shocked because he was always surrounded by youthful people. His father ensured that. And he said, "What's happening here? What happened to him?" He became old, as you and I will also become old. So that was his initial shock. Then as they were walking by, he saw a man diseased from head to toe with oozing boils. I said, "What happened to him?" "He is diseased. He's suffering from some serious disease." Another shock to his conscience. Then, as they were walking, he heard Ram Nam Satya Hai, Ram Nam Satya Hai, which is a chant where they carry a dead on a palanquin to be burnt at the river corner. And he said, "What's happened to there? What's going on there?" He said, "That man has died. You and I will one day die as well." Buddha realized that this just spells suffering. You're born, you're getting old, there's diseases, and then one day the body dies. What's the purpose of this life? Just to eat, drink, and be merry? It makes no sense. Even the animals are indulging in that. What's the purpose of the questions in my mind? What is the sky? What is the solar system? What are the stars? Where did I come from? Who am I? What is the purpose here? What is the meaning of life? He started to ask himself these questions. And he couldn't get over the fact of the question, what is the meaning of life? What is my purpose here? As every intelligent man should and must come to this state where he asks himself, what is the meaning of life? If not, then you're living a life that is going to be a wasted life. Because you're missing a golden opportunity. That opportunity to transcend material suffering forever, because you will come again. If you die with unresolved desires, whatever you have in your mind while leaving this body, yam yam vapi smaran bhavam tyajatanta kalevaram tam tam eva iti kuntiya saratad bhavaha bhavitaha. The Gita in 8:6, Sri Krishna describes, whatever a man while leaving his body at the time of death remembers, thinks of, he attains that and that only. Of this there is no doubt. So, you will come back to experience the good and evil deeds you have performed. And whatever we are experiencing in this present life, it's our karmic account from our past life. And what we are doing today will determine the future life. Only the one who surrenders completely to a God-realized soul, who guides you into realizing God, and you attain God realization before you die, then you can transcend material bodies that are born, getting old, disease, and die. You will get a body just like God's. That's why in 8:5 in the previous verse, Sri Krishna says, Anta kalecha mameva smaran mukva kalevaram. Ya pratisa mad bhavam yati nasyatra samseha. The one who leaves his body remembering me only, God is saying, he attains my state. Of this there is no doubt. What is God's state? God is joy personified. So God will give you joy forever. God lives in a body that cannot be burnt, wet, or dried. God lives in a body that stays youthful forever, sweet 16 forever. He will give you the living condition. He will give you the same type of body. He will give you the same type of planetary system he lives in, which transcends material, the material universe. He will give you the same state he lives in. So don't miss this opportunity. Aim high. Now, let's look at why we're suffering in this world in a different context, apart from the fact that the body goes through birth, disease, old age, and death. You have imperfect senses. You have experience of delusions. You may think something is that is not. There is a cheating propensity, and there is a tendency to make mistakes. All of these compound to create suffering. But worse than all of this is suffering caused by ourselves through our desires. So Buddha also came up with the same conclusion, that we are strapped in the cycle of birth and death, old age and disease, and we can't transcend it because of our desires. So he has 4 golden rules that he put together. This world is a place of suffering, number 1. Number 2, there's a cause for suffering. Number 3, our desires is the cause of suffering. And number 4, freedom from suffering comes with the renunciation of our desires. It's why Sri Krishna says, Yam sannyasam iti prahur yogam tam vidipandav. Nahi sannyasta sankalpo yogi bhavati kaschana. In 6.2 of the Gita, Sri Krishna says, the one who renounces all material desires and desires me instead, it's the same as attaining union with me, O son of Pandu. For no one can attain God realization. No one can attain freedom from suffering. No one can attain perfect happiness. No one can attain God who have not given up the thoughts that give rise to the desires of this world. So think about it carefully. You see, desires have only 2 results. Arjuna asked the question, Atakena prayuktuyam papam chariti purushaha anikchana api varsneya baladivane. My Lord, in 3:36 of the Gita, Arjuna asked, my Lord, why is it that man is committing sins, which brings about suffering? As if driven by a very powerful force from within. We're doing things that we don't want to do, unwilling to do so, as if impelled by some involuntary force. We are committing things, sins that we don't even want to do. The Lord answered in the next verse, 3:37, Kama esha krodha esha rajaguna samudbhavaha mahashano mahapapma vidyehi namiha varinam. These are the only 2 results of a desire. It is desires only, the Lord says, born of the quality of passion, Passion is that quality and that state of mental disposition where we are always carping, where we are always yearning for the possessions of the world. And we have no concern for God except that we may be praying to God for the possessions of the world. That's as much as we see God and as much as we consider God, that He should give us what we want from the world. We don't love God, we just love what God can give us. That's the quality of a mind that is called passion, rajas. So this quality of mind, never mind what you get, you remain mahashanu. You remain dissatisfied. Each fulfilled desire brings about a desire for a greater. Each fulfilled desire, I just want more, more, more. So what you're becoming? Greedy. The desires for the things of this world, each fulfilled desire just makes you more and more greedy. That's one result of a desire, and each desire only has two results. If you don't get what you want, you will become angry. And with the rise of anger, Krodhat bhavati sanmohaha, sanmohat smriti vibhramaha, smriti brahmsad buddhinasho buddhinasat pranashati. With the rise of anger, the first casualty of anger is you experience infatuation. When will I get that? How will I get it? Where will I get it? In that you lose the awareness of what is right and wrong, a confusion of memory, forgetfulness of what is right or wrong. You don't care how you fulfill this desire. You will be tempted to lie, to cheat, do everything to fulfill this desire. And if you're not getting these desires fulfilled, then with the rise of anger, there's a confusion of memory, a loss of reason ensues. Look, a man could kill, murder. When a desire takes hold of a man can rape. Loss of reason. And then we go to destruction. So, each desire, if it's fulfilled, you're getting greedy. And if it's not fulfilled, you're getting angry. And both greed and anger is the cause of your suffering. Greed and anger, however, are just effects of the cause called desire. So if you minimize your desire and practice contentment, godliness with contentment is great gain. For we brought nothing into the world and can take nothing out of it. But if we have food and clothing, we will be content. With that, people who want to get rich fall into many temptations and a trap of many foolish and harmful desires that plunge men into ruin and destruction. For the love of money is a root of all kinds of evil. Some people, eager for money, have wandered far from God and have pierced themselves with many griefs. The cause of suffering is desire. So my dear aspiring souls, children of God, take heed, be contented, and focus on the real purpose, which is to attain God. You can't take anything, but you can attain God before you die. Thank you for joining me. Please do so next Sunday at the same time. You will hear the Divine Personality, JagadGuru Sri Kripaluji Maharaj, who will go into more depth in this subject matter. Radhe Radhe.
मेरी थाली झूठी प्यारी भोली ऐसी मत कर That was a paid program, and the views and opinions expressed are those of the host and other speakers and do not reflect the views and opinions of TVG Channel 28.